today is Ask Lou, and I'm answering a question that goes a little something like this. Can you help me? I seem to always revert to frying and roasting because I can't make my steamed veggies taste delicious. Can you help me out? So number one, are we steaming for the right amount of time? If we oversteam our food, it's going to taste mushy and bland and bleh. So we can start there with adjusting the timing, but it's going to depend on how much heat you have in your steamer. If you have a big pot and a big steamer on top, it could cook a lot faster. It's also going to depend on how you chop your veggies. If they're really tiny, they're going to take a lot less time than a huge chunk of cauliflower or broccoli, for example. So we can start there. The second thing is, what quality of veggies are you using? So I'm a big believer in supporting local farmers that take care when they're growing their produce. And while it may cost a little bit extra, it always pays off in how they taste and how long they last in my fridge compared to getting veggies from a major supermarket, and they can be bad within a few days or a week. So by far, fresher veggies equals more flavor. Now the other part to number two is, are you buying in season? Are you buying cauliflower in cauliflower season, or is it costing you $8 for a conventional cauliflower, which is out of season, or there's something going on, and you're using old veggies to start with? So again, it's back to that flavor point. You're not going to get the most out of the veg to begin with. Number three, and this is how I would start, and I have a few props here to use. So my first thing would be to add some salt. Salt, a sprinkle of salt, and see what happens. And this is a really good way to begin to get your flavor muscle working in your head. Second one would be some pepper. Now, if you're cooking for little babies, like this question asker is, you might not want to add pepper, although I've got to say my son loves pepper. He's always asking for more pepper, so maybe you do. But so salt is a good one to start with. Salt is a natural flavor enhancer. It's going to bring out the flavor of the veggies naturally. And a little bit goes a long way. You don't need to overdo it, but it is the first step that I always teach all my clients on how to begin to train their brain to notice the differences in the flavor as we add to them. So number two would be butter. And so I have ghee here. You can use ghee, which is clarified butter, so it has the milk solids removed. You can also use standard old butter. If you are dairy-free, can't handle butter or ghee, you might want to add some coconut oil and see how that goes. Just a little bit can go a long way, although with butter, a lot goes a long way too. But I will leave the amount up to you. Maybe start with a teaspoon, assess from there. There's so much goodness in ghee and butter that is beneficial to our bodies anyway, if your body can handle it. That's a key point there. So let's start with some butter and then see how that tastes. So we have salt, we have butter now. I would say that usually does it for me. And next up would be, what else can we infuse in those veggies to get the flavor going? So I have here some bone broth. So this one's available from Woolies, Best of the Bone, and this is their mushroom version, which I love. So it's beef broth with mushrooms in it. And I would make a tiny little broth soup. So even a quarter of a teaspoon or so of this, and I don't know, a tablespoon, maybe a few tablespoons of water. And you could even, actually, if you've got butter in there, you can use a little bit less water because that will mix together nicely. So you're just creating a nice little bit of flavor for your veggies. Broth is so good for the gut, really beautiful for our meals to add in. This one is mushroom. They have a herb one, and there's a few others that you can get as well to add flavor in a new way. So that's another way. The next one would be San Elk. And this is a low FODMAP. So it's low on the onions and the garlic, so it's very easy on your tummy. So I could add a little bit of this, same method with the broth, to create flavour. So this is also available in Woolies now, which is really cool. I think it might be select Woolies, but still it's getting there. And you know what, I'm so impressed by Woolies for stocking these smaller brands, because we're starting to see so much quality in Woolies, especially. Coles needs to catch up. But so much quality from small brands that see a gap in the market and are doing good things. And we get to reap the benefits of that, because you add that in with your weekly shop, or if you shop at Woolies, and it can get delivered to your door. It's so good. You can collect points, you can use Woolies rewards and get 10% off, all the different ways that are amazing. So next up, we might want to think of how we could add a topping onto these steamed veggies to make them taste amazing. So what I've suggested so far, they're all options. You don't need to do every single one of them, but just begin to have a play around and see how you go. So the next one could be a little topping like this. So this is from, don't make me say the name, hope you can see that, House. And it is their everything bagel blend. So it has white sesame, black sesame, poppy, it has garlic in there, onion as well, and nigella seeds and salt. It is beautiful. My boy loves this. So I just put a little, either I'll sprinkle it on or I'll get him to sprinkle it on himself so he's in control. That's a great thing for kids to do, especially toddlers who want to be in control of everything. Or he can get his, if it's cauliflower or broccoli and I have put it in a little pile on his plate, he can just dip it in and then he can eat it. So next up on the whole dippy situation, which is a really wonderful one, is adding yogurt. So maybe you have some salt, maybe you have some butter. That's already delicious, it's good enough. Now you have something like a coconut yogurt or a normal yogurt, and we're just letting them dip it in. So this is for kids, babies, which is what our question asker kind of wanted. But you can even do that for you. Dippy is great, whether you're 6 months old or if you're 60. Coconut yogurt is really good because it's a bit sweeter, but Greek yogurt is perfectly fine as well. So there's another option for a different flavor. Next thing would be some herbs. So I just have raw, cut from the tree not that long ago, rosemary. So I could chop this up and I could apply it when I do my butter, so at the very beginning. And I kind of like to call that a post-cook marinade. I talk about that a lot in Ditch the Recipes, my course which teaches you how to ditch recipes and be able to whip up meals from what's in your pantry and fridge. I talk about it a lot in there. So it's this ability to add the flavor after to anything really, but especially meat, without having to go through the process of being so organized that you're ready to cook, ready to marinate 24 hours before you're cooking, and just all of that extra effort up front. You can apply it after if you forget about doing all that stuff up front. So it's just a quick, easy way to add flavor. So thyme, oregano, basil, parsley, and this may be in the form of a dried herb mix. It doesn't really matter. I have fresh here as I keep holding up, but you can use dry. Dry is easier because you just get it out and sprinkle it on top. It's a beautiful way to add flavor and add some oomph to that steamed veggies. Now the next one is some cheese. So this is Parmigiano Reggiano. So this is, I sound so Aussie when I say that, can't help it, but this is unpasteurized, aged cow's milk cheese. Kind of like a Parmesan, but raw. And so we're still getting the goodness of the dairy in this. So I would grate that and put it on top of the veg. It'd be a beautiful way. It's like a new invention and a much quicker way of making cheesy cauliflower or cheesy broccoli without having to go to all the effort of putting it in the oven. How good is that? So some cheese grated on top. Now the next one, just invented this week, breadcrumbs. So I have here, this I used as a topper on our pasta the other night. I was just playing around and I ended up with this. It's sauteed onion, garlic, and then I have herbs in there. I'm gonna bring it in closer. Onion, garlic, herbs, and what else? Breadcrumbs cooked in some ghee, and that's it. So that would be beautiful. And you know what? I think even for young kids, definitely for old kids, it'd still work, but having a plate with some veg on it, and then little bits and pieces to dip into, like what happens if I dip it into all the seedy blend? So they can like try that. What happens if I dip it into a pile of cheese? What happens if I dip it into some coconut yogurt? What happens if I dip it into breadcrumbs? That could be a beautiful way to just get them interacting with the food. It could also be a lot of flavor at once, so be warned. You might want to try one at a time, but these are my simple tips to get started with adding flavor to your steamed veg in a pretty simple way in not much time at all. Thanks for watching. You can subscribe to my channel, and if you want more kitchen hacks to help you save time in the kitchen, save your mental sanity, head to my website lunchladielou.com.au/hacks, and you can get my free 5-day series to get you on your way. And if you want to submit a question, you can do that in the comments below. I have a link that you can click, fill out your question, and I'll answer it here on the show. See you next week.